And now it's becoming really crowded up here, which I think is a marvelous sign for the dialogue that we want to enable. The question to be dealt with within the next hour is how to push energy transition policies forward towards economically viable implementation. I'm very much looking forward to hearing the answers from a wide range of countries and energy systems. Please give a warm welcome to the participants of the first ministerial panel and the moderator, Fatih Birol, Executive Director at the International Energy Agency. Welcome.
So, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, colleagues, friends. It's a great pleasure and honor for the International Energy Agency and for me to be in front of you today. We had very good presentations, speeches, which taught me a lot. I learned a lot. Thank you very much for that. The two ministers told us how successful the Energiewende is in Germany and the expectations for the future in Germany and beyond. We also learn from our young colleagues, from the students from the Schule, also that we need to take them seriously, and it's an important issue to learn. And we also just heard from our colleague from the industry that there are major achievements in terms of integration of renewables in the system. Even we were told by yesterday's match by Juventus that the substitutes are important. But what I learned from yesterday's match, since you talk about football, I cannot stop myself. It is not the importance of substitutes. This is something that a very famous English football player said. Football is a game played by 22 players, which at the end Germans win. It is what I got from yesterday's match, and whatever happens, German teams always win at the end of the game, which was the case yesterday. Today, I want to start our session. We have a very good session from different parts of the world with different levels of experiences for the energy transition. But I want to start with 3 simple slides and give it 3 important, I believe, perspectives. The first one is a very good news that we, in fact, announced just yesterday. As Minister Gabriel said, energy is key to find a solution to climate change. Why? Because more than 2/3 of the emissions causing climate change come from the energy sector. Now, when you look at the CO2 emissions, which is the main greenhouse gas, in the last years, last few decades, they always increased every year, year by year, except for 3 times. One, when we hit the oil price shock and its impact on the economy. Second, when the Soviet Union collapsed. And third, 2009 financial crisis. Except for 3 years where the economy, global economy, was going down, emissions every year increased. Last year, we have found out that for the first time in the year 2014, global emissions did not increase, even though global economy grew by 3.4%. It was a very encouraging message just before Paris discussions. But we had to question ourselves, A, whether our estimates were right, and B, whether this is a one-off and it will not be repeated again. We had these 2 questions. But in yesterday's announcement, ladies and gentlemen, we found out that 2nd year in a row, 2015, global emissions did not increase, even though the global economy increased over 3%, and our estimation for the year 2014 was just to the point. It was completely right. So therefore, what we see is that we can both have an economic growth and at least a stabilization of emissions. Our problem is not with energy. Energy is something very good. It makes our life easier, more comfortable, economies growth. The problem is with emissions. So why this happened? This surprising, but this very welcome news. There are many reasons, but three of them are important. Number one, we have seen, ladies and gentlemen, last year, more than 90% of the new electricity generation coming from renewable energies, mainly wind. It is historical. More than 90% of all new electricity generation in the world came from renewables. This is number one. But this is not enough. Number two, in China, we have seen a major decline of coal, which is replaced by hydropower, wind, and solar. In fact, coal globally last year had the worst year in the last 50 years, except for early 1990s when the Soviet Union collapsed. The third reason why we have seen this welcome news is what happened in the United States, a major replacement of coal by natural gas. So these were the three drivers of the emissions staying flat second year in a row. This is, of course, very welcome news, but looking at Paris, we have to go beyond that. What do we have to do? We have to limit the temperature increase to 2 degrees Celsius maximum, if not lower. So, what do we have to do? According to our analysis, with the current trends, and to go to 2 degrees, we have many options on the table. And it will be wrong, in my view, ladies and gentlemen, if all the countries were to ask to follow the same pattern to reduce their emissions. Therefore, when we look at the options, we see number one option, perhaps for all of us, is improving energy efficiency, where the International Energy Agency is very active and will be even more active in the future. Followed by renewables. These two are the main drivers of reducing the CO2 emissions, but also there are other options, depending on the country's economic and energy circumstances. It can be carbon capture and storage, it can be other technologies, but the technologies are there, and this is important to implement them. Let me finish my remarks by telling you that we have the Paris Agreement. This is excellent news for all of us, but this is an agreement. We want to see what happens in the real life in the markets, and therefore implementation and have the right mandatory policies are crucial. Second, very good news is the falling cost of renewable energies. Our numbers show that in the last 6 years, onshore wind, one of the drivers today of the renewable energies, the cost declined by 1/3 in 5 years of time. Solar PV cost declined by 80%. A major decline makes them more and more economic. I am sure my colleague Adnan Amin, who brought the IRENA to these heights, to these successes, will talk about the renewable energy prospects more in detail. But one thing I wanted to tell you that renewable energy, like many energy sources, has also challenges in terms of integration in the systems to raise the capital, the investments, and we are, as the IEA, working very hard. What is the best way in different contexts to integrate the renewables in the electricity system, in the grids? We have been working on the transmission and distribution since 40 years, and we want to apply our knowledge and experience on this area as well. Now, one thing is important, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to give always good and nice news, but a warning as well. Renewable energies investments, developments do not happen in a vacuum. It happens in a global energy system, and everybody is affected by everybody. Renewable has to compete with the others, and others have to compete with renewables. I mentioned the reduction of cost of renewables is a big advantage of renewables to be chosen. However, lower natural gas and coal prices, may well complicate or slow down the transition to renewables and pushing the energy efficiency policies. And our analysis in the IEA showed that natural gas and coal prices may well be low for a few years to come. Therefore, attention, I would say, to governments if they are keen to continue to see a higher share of renewables in a low gas and coal price environment. Energiewende, definitely a very important strategy, and we have understood that in addition to Germany, it can provide a lot of inspiration to many countries, emerging countries, and also advanced economies. But once again, different countries have different circumstances, but it can provide a general inspiration there. And finally, no country, ladies and gentlemen, is an energy island. And therefore, it is very important that there is an international cooperation. As the International Energy Agency, we are ready to cooperate with all the organizations, with all the countries here, members or not. And I can tell you that since 6 months, we have opened our doors to emerging countries with whom we are working very closely now. So once again, thank you very much for the kind invitation. Thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.